What's going on, everybody? This is another video for the Brian Speaks On vlog. I am Brian, as you may have guessed, and today I'm gonna go with the theme that I've been kind of going on, which is black ownership in various forms. It doesn't necessarily have to be ownership in the sense of being a business owner or being an employer, although that does qualify as well. But today's version of ownership that I want to get into concerns black men and black culture. And I made a video recently that delved a little bit more into the female aspect of it, but today I want to focus on the male aspect of it, because although we do get criticized, we still operate from a system in a position of privilege in a patriarchal way, and we get away with having a lot of things both ways, and I think that needs to be addressed. I think it needs to be addressed more harshly and critically, and today I'm going to speak on it. So what I want to go into, as far as it pertains to the concept of black ownership, we need to take ownership not just in the sense, like I said, of business ownership and things like that, but we need to take ownership from the inside out. And from the inside out, I mean, we need to take ownership of our choices. We need to take ownership of our bodies, of the way that we operate, the way that we act, because we are held under a stricter standard. Now, people may want to argue that with the argument of it's not fair because other cultures and other people do roughly the same stuff as we do and yet don't get criticized as harshly. And my answer to that is the answer that pretty much all of us have gotten when we got around that age where we lost our innocence and realized that we live in a particular kind of reality. And it's a three-worded answer: life isn't fair. Period. So you can't necessarily look at things from a perspective of, oh, it shouldn't be that way. Well, a lot of things shouldn't be a lot of ways, but a lot of things are certain ways, and it shapes the reality in which we're in as of this moment. Now, a lot of people may say, well, that's not something that they had a choice in, and so on and so forth. But again, you can use that argument in practically all forms of life, so, and what does that have to do with you taking ownership and accountability and responsibility as well, which is another thing that cheap cop-outs like that tend to do. It absolves people of taking ownership of what they're supposed to be about. So again, black men, y'all like to talk about women in a very derogatory fashion, but then at the same time you want to talk about what you need in a woman to validate women as being women, not a thought, not a slide, and so on and so forth, a bird, this and that. But you in turn are not getting your own situation, your own self right to be in any position to call out anybody. You want a queen, but you're no king. How does that work? And you want to have a female of a particular level of standards, and your standards are like, on your own level, your standards are below average. Like, you're not even living in the context of what's generalized as grown-up normalcy. But you want a female that's on a whole other level, but you ain't even on the level. Who are you a king of? And why should a woman submit to you? What are you doing to demand such things? And you want to criticize these women out here who have basically adopted the philosophy of, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and criticize them about that without taking into account that it's because of your fuckery over umpteenth years and amounts of time that promoted them to adopt that philosophy to begin with. You mad at them for wanting to have a particular style of equality, and label them in a certain way, yet you do nothing to corral the issue because you do nothing to change your own self. You exacerbate the very reason for them to adopt the philosophy that they've adopted. And you want them to change, but you're not willing to change what created this situation in the first place. That's not being a man. That's not being grown. That's just you wanting things to magically change without changing yourself. And then you wonder why things don't change. It doesn't work that way. Who among you are honest and critical towards yourself, taking ownership of the choices that you make? Why is it okay to be shallow in your relationships, or who you pursue, period? Like, how you gonna get at a woman for saying that she wants to be sexually liberated or whatever, and call them whatever names you want to call her, yet at the same time you see a chick on the street and the first thing you saying is, yo, she got a fat ass, son. I gotta see what's good with that. You're already holding them to that level. You're not giving them even the thought of them on any other level other than a sperm bank. So once they adopt the philosophy of, hey, well, I'm just going to go out there and get mine, now you want to sit there and label them. But you don't label yourself. You continue to perpetuate the issue. You perpetuate the problem, and we've been the ones in control of that societal standard all this time. And it's not fair that men don't get judged critically and harshly in the same method as women. If you're loose with yourself and you're irresponsible with your own body, you should get labeled, regardless of the gender. You should get labeled. You should get criticized, because you're the one. You're talking about all these single women out here, single mothers in particular. You want to get on them about how they may not be raising these boys out here the correct way, the masculine way. Well, who created baby moms? Who created these babies' mothers? You slept with them. You were just as irresponsible, but you didn't have to take the weight like they did. You got up and you broke out. So, I mean, for those of you who want to criticize these single women out here, these single mothers, I should say, for not raising these kids out here in that aspect, for those of you who even chose to even be in these children's lives, I at least give you that much. But at the same time, you're still choosing women from a shallow aspect, and you're creating a culture that is repeating a negative cycle. So how can you claim yourself to be a particular grade of man based on your frivolous actions, your lack of discipline, your lack of self-control, your shallow choices, and how you choose to run yourself? That's not taking ownership. That's being a slave to your impulses. That makes you an undisciplined person. And I don't know too many leaders that also tend to carry those traits. You're not a leader. You're just another dude out here, and yet you want to sit here and demand a particular kind of respect, and you want to be submitted to and given a particular title of authority, not so much authority, but a particular title of being a man. And you don't even fit the bill. You don't even meet the requirements. But you living in this particular kind of delusion that suggests that just because you're a male, that's supposed to make you qualified. There's a difference between being a male, somebody who just happened to have lived long enough to grow to a certain age, and being a man. So how about y'all start taking a little bit more ownership of your side of the problem, because you're not adding to the solution. You are merely adding to what the problem is out here. And again, that's not to say that some of these decisions by these women are to be absolved either of responsibility, but we're not talking about them right now. We're talking about you. So how about you think on that, and we'll see about things getting a little bit better and closer to the middle and closer to being this culture that we really want. But we can't change the culture until we change ourselves and get better. And if you don't want to get better, then get used to what you're complaining about, because that's how it's going to remain. And if you go with that, then you're pathetic. I mean, basically. So with that being said, regardless of my feelings on that level, I hope we all have a blessed one, and I hope you all make it home safely and have a good one. Later. Peace.